So I've said this before in videos, and if anybody's ever asked me about the DJS-1000, I've said exactly the same thing. You can use it as much or as little as you want to. Now, if you watched any of the videos online, you'll see the demos show it to its full extent, all of the features, really stretching what this unit can do, and that's to show just how amazing it is. But you can also use it in some really simple and effective ways, and that's what I want to go over in this video today. So the first technique I want to talk about is something that I use in my sets a lot. It's where the DJS really shines, and that's putting extra elements in over the top of existing tracks that are playing at the moment. So in my sets, I play a lot of US house, bit of jacking house, but occasionally I'll put some deeper house in there. Now that's got a lot less percussion in, and that might take my set down in kind of energy levels. So what I tend to do is I will put in extra percussion over the top of that using the DJS-1000. So I might put some extra hats in there, I might put snare in there, whatever kind of brings it up to the energy level that my sets usually have, and I can do that all live. Now, one of the most amazing things about the DJS is that it fully integrates with the Nexus gear. So you can sync tracks between one of the CDJs and the DJS-1000. So if you've got a track playing on one of the CDJs, you can then add elements over the top of that in real time, but also quantized, and it will keep time. And that's one of the most amazing things about this. Now, there's a lot of debate over whether sync is a good or a bad thing, but I think when you're actually composing on the fly, you don't want to have to worry about beat matching at the same time as well. You want to just concentrate on actually creating something. So not having to beat match is actually a huge benefit, and actually it benefits the crowd as well, because they're not going to hear a train wreck happen. So I can have a track playing on here, and then I can sync it up with this deck and then start laying some stuff in over the top of that. So as you can see, that was a very, very simple way of being able to use the DJS-1000 to just add an extra layer over the top of a track that's already playing. To talk you through it, basically I started with a CDJ on the left-hand side, and I started that playing. You'll notice that the master was set on the sync setting, and then on the DJS-1000, I started that going, and that was set to sync. So whatever tempo the left-hand CDJ was playing, the DJS would keep time with it. Now that's a really important thing, because we want to use this as the master. This is what we're going to build on top of, and then we're going to start adding elements in over the top of that. So the right-hand deck here, the DJS-1000, I then started adding percussion elements in it. So I started with an open hat, and then I added a closed hat, and then I put a snare in there, and I really just started playing around with a few different samples that I'd already loaded in beforehand. You'll also notice that I was going through and tweaking some of the levels as well. I was controlling the volume of each pad. So every single sample that you load into here, you can tweak actually on the unit to kind of level them all up, make sure they sound right, and kind of just play around with them. That's something you can do beforehand or in the middle of your set. Obviously, the preparation is really, really good to have. You don't want to be doing too much tweaking in your set. You want to just be able to play. But as you can see, it's not exactly that hard. You can do it mid-set anyway. So the next thing I want to talk about is using the DJS-1000 in your breakdowns. Now this is something that's really satisfying to do, and it can be a real crowd pleaser. You are showboating a bit doing this, but it can really work effectively, and it can really bring up the energy levels. So in this demo, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I can use the DJS to put in a snare build. So I'm going to rapid fire a snare drum sample over the top of the first breakdown of this track. So as you can see, that was just a really simple technique for building the energy levels. I was just jabbing at that pad, triggering that snare sample. Now that was all really nice and in time because again, we were syncing up between the two players here. So this was still the master and this was synced to that. So whenever I hit a snare drum, it was automatically in time with that record. Now you can set the quantized settings on here. At the moment, I have it as 1/4. So I can do 4 snares for every beat of that. And it works really nicely in that way because it always keeps you in time. You might not be a great finger drummer, but using the quantize in this means that you will most of the time be in time with that record. So as you can see there, I was just playing around with coming up with a few different rhythms whilst I was doing that. Now you can also layer that with effects using the mixer or effects using the DJS ones on board. So there's so many different ways of combining this. So I was just using the reverb effect on the Pioneer mixer there, but I've got so many options available to me here. I could use any of the effects within the DJS, or the color effects on the mixer, or the channel effects. I can use any number of combinations to do these, to create some really amazing builds. And you can only do that just through trying this stuff out and seeing what works. So the next technique I reckon is really going to divide opinion, and you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it, because I'm talking about stings or idents. Now, if you're playing out, you might want the crowd to know who you are. You might have an announcement for your DJ name or your club night or whatever else like that. Then you could definitely trigger it with this bit of kit. Now, hold on and listen to me. Now, what if you're doing a podcast or a live radio show? Now, well, those usually have a bit of kit that can put an ident over the top or an advert or whatever it is. You could do that with the DJS-1000, and actually you could do it in time with everything else. So you could have an announcement or some kind of ident or sting or something for your podcast. You could then put an effect on it using the DJS, and it would all be in time with everything else that you're playing. So if you're doing your own podcast, then that could be really, really handy for you. I'll show you a quick demo.
Secretz in the mix. It's house music, baby. We're talking about real house music. House music, house music, house music, house music. Something going on inside.
So as you can see there, a really simple technique, and you're either going to use it or you're not going to use it. But think about it for a second. If you produce a podcast or a radio show, then you're probably going to be editing in these stings and idents afterwards. Why not just use a bit of kit like this, and you can actually play in real time with whatever you're playing, and actually just, you can almost remix the ident as you're playing. So it's an integrated way of being able to put that stuff in real time. And say, for example, you're doing a live stream and you don't have the possibility of being able to edit it in afterwards, then it makes a perfect device to just launch these clips and put those idents in over the top and in time with whatever you're playing. Now, definitely you could put those on a CDJ and play them out that way, but this has so many possibilities for adding effects on top of it and processing it and doing it in a whole load of different ways that makes it a really ideal bit of kit for doing something like that. So the next thing I want to talk about is live sampling, and that's one of the amazing features of this bit of kit. Now, this is really simple to do once you got it all hooked up. So I've got the send output of the mixer going into the input of the DJS. So one simple lead going between the two, and that can ensure whatever is coming out of this mixer, I can then resample into the DJS and then play back out of it back into the mixer. It sounds a bit complex, but it's actually a really simple thing. Within the channel filters section on this mixer, I can choose which channel that I want to affect using the effects. And that is essentially telling me what channel I want to send to the DJS as well, because that's going out via the send. That then comes into the DJS and I can sample it in real time. Now again, because this is all synced, when I hit record on there on the sampler, it will record for 4 beats or 8 beats or 16 beats, and it will be in time. And one of the amazing things is once it's finished sampling, it will start playing it straight away. So you can be playing a loop on here, it can then be recording onto here, and then as soon as it's recorded, the second it's recorded, it can then start playing out and start looping again. So I'll show you how that works.
Dropping mad heat. You know you win. They've set that crazy tempo, and these people got hot. And before they knew what time it was, my man would drop. Oh shit. 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 Oh
Wow, it still amazes me, this bit of kit. I absolutely love playing around with it. It allows you to be so creative. Now I'm going to break down exactly what I did just then, because that was kind of confusing if you're trying to figure out how all this works. So I'm going to break it down in little bits. So on the left-hand deck here, I was playing a track out as you would normally, and that's coming through channel 2 on the mixer. Now we also have the channel effects on the mixer here, and that's set up to just affect channel 2 at the moment. I can select that from up the top, but that also means it's going out through the send channel on the mixer. So the send output on the mixer is actually going into the input of the DJS, which means whatever I send out of the mixer, i.e. channel 2 in this case, it's going into the input of the DJS, which means I can start sampling that. Now I can enter sampling mode by pressing the sampling button, and then any pad that I press will then start recording the incoming signal. Now, as I've mentioned before, this is all synced up. So when you start hitting record on this, it will record a perfect loop of whatever size you choose to that pad, which means you can record any length from 8 beats to 16 to 32 and put it straight into one of those pads. And again, one of the amazing features of this is as soon as you stopped recording, it will automatically play that sample back. So as you saw just then, as soon as I finished sampling it, I then turned down the volume of the channel 2 where the track was actually playing, and then the sample was actually playing through the DJS. So I was able to stop this and the track was still playing through here because I've sampled it into that pad. And then I could start doing more things with it. So I hope that's given you some ideas of how you can use the DJS-1000 in your sets, and to show that it's not that scary a bit of kit. You just kind of get used to it. You've got to practice with it. Start with the simple stuff first and then build up from there. Now I use these techniques in my sets all the time. I'm not always live performing all of my tracks on this. Sometimes I'm only using this for about 10% of my set. Most of the time I'm just playing tracks. And some of these techniques work better than others at certain times, depending on what tracks you're playing. Quite often I'll be putting some extra percussion in over the top, and that really works when a track is kind of missing something and you're realizing that live when you're playing it out live. You can just add those elements in real time whenever you want to. And in breakdowns, if you notice that the floor is kind of lacking, if the energy's down and you want to kind of build it back up again, then you can start introducing some more elements within the breakdown to make it more interesting. Start getting more creative, performing more within your sets, and then that will kind of, the crowd will see that and they'll hopefully start engaging more. So, you can really do some interesting stuff within breakdowns. The live sampling, just think about it in a way that you can just sample something that's playing at the moment and then bring it in again a bit later. You might find an awesome vocal sample in the middle of a track. You can loop it up on the actual CDJ, put it into the sampler and have it ready for later, or then just start doing stuff and cutting it up live in real time. It's totally up to you. You can play around with it however you want to. And you can use any number of combination of these different techniques to bring it on even more. Once you start using these in combination, then you're effectively live remixing a track, and that can get really creative, really fun, and makes your sets unique every single time. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Remember, give it a thumbs up on YouTube if you enjoyed it. Also subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notifications icon so you get notified whenever I upload a new video. Just last week, I did a video on how I get my tracks from Ableton into the DJS-1000. So if you're a producer and you want to know how to get your tracks onto this amazing bit of kit, then check out that video. I've also got a whole load of other videos on there, production, DJing, and a whole load of other stuff, so definitely check that out.